I'm Gary Bart, founder and editor-in-chief of today's Caregiver magazine and Caregiver.com, host of the 286 Fearless Caregiver Conferences held across the nation to date, author of the new book about COVID-19 caregiving, You Are Not Alone, and your host for this video series, COVID-19 Caregiving Conversations. Our goal, as with all we do, is to help family caregivers learn about the people, support, and services you need to best care for your loved ones and for yourself. One of my favorite parts of what we do is when we spend a day with our fellow family caregivers at the Fearless Caregiver Conferences. Of course, this is not presently possible due to COVID-19, so we hope to be able to continue this interaction with you virtually until we can once again spend the day together. I hope you enjoy the episodes in this series and can think of no better way to start it off than a conversation with U.S. Assistant Secretary for Aging and Caregiving Advocate, Lance Robertson. It's a great personal pleasure to talk again with Lance Robertson, the U.S. Assistant Secretary for Aging and Administrator of the Administration for Community Living. Mr. Secretary, so much has happened since you joined us as keynote speaker at our Orlando Fearless Caregiver Conference way back in November.
It's good to be with you, Gary, and you're correct. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but wow, in terms of just what's now the new normal, it does seem like a lifetime ago in that respect.
So I just want to jump into asking some questions so people can know how to best utilize all the work you're doing.
Excellent.
What's the best way for seniors and caregivers to find help locally during this pandemic?
Really, I think, Gary, we're very fortunate that there is a single phone number that people can call. It's called the ELDERCARE locator. It's been around for a while now. So when people call that toll-free number, really it will direct them to their state and then their local community where services are available to them. If your listeners go to acl.gov, that's simple, acl.gov, we have lots of great resources listed there. And likewise, we have staff on a limited basis who can help with some of those inquiries. We have now pushed out the door $1.2 billion new dollars that were supplemental funds. So the first supplemental that we received money for was the Families First supplemental. We received $250 million to exclusively support the meals program. I think we're all familiar with, the home delivered meal program, as well as during traditional times, the congregate meal setting. So $250 million in that first round. This newest round that came to us via the CARES Act, Gary, that was almost $1 billion. And of that, nearly half of it was meals to, again, support fighting things like malnutrition and food insecurity and even social isolation. But I'm excited, and your listeners will be most excited to know that $100 million of that goes to support family caregivers.
Let's talk about the thing that's happening that's just terrible, and it's the scams and the dastardly deeds and the fraudsters that are reaching out to our family caregivers and our seniors. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing to help support us as we're getting attacked like this?
We've seen all sorts of scams that have now been introduced that are related to COVID. Obviously people are being contacted by email, or even some people having salesmen come to their front door and they're offering, hey, we have this vaccine, or we have this special mask, or we have a kit that you can buy. And, candidly, Gary, as with all scams, people just need to completely avoid all of that. Validate any offer, and there are easy ways to do that. And then certainly protect your personal identity and those critical numbers and things that you need to keep safe. A good example, Gary, we really have been working closely with the Attorney General's office on a Medicare scam that really focuses on people who are having their Medicare number captured and then false billings being billed against the Medicare system. And, as taxpayers, we're talking about a lot of money. So we're trying to stop that as well. And where we can get help would be from your listeners, if ever approached. Don't give out your Medicare number. Don't give out your personal information until you know for sure it's legitimate. And the best way to legitimize any of those things, Gary, is obviously through local resources. So, if you live in a given state and you're approached, then, you can start with your local area agency on aging, or you can even talk to your state unit on aging. In some cases, they'll refer you to the Attorney General's office at the state level, because we really, as you know, at the federal government level, our goal is to support locally executed and state managed activities, not just for COVID, but for everything we do. So again, we just want to encourage people. It is so worth taking that pause when approached with some great deal. And if that takes a few days or a week, so be it. It sure beats having your information compromised, and then from there trying to clean that up is months, if not years, of headache. So please, for anybody listening, no matter how you're approached, even if you're approached by a family member who believes this to be legitimate information, we're all smarter if we just pause long enough to validate that information as true.
Can you share some tips about working through social isolation?
We really need to stress to caregivers to take care of themselves. They've got to make sure that they build in some sort of plan that enables them to get respite, to be able to focus on their own needs. And I know that's easier said than done in some instances, but we got to make sure that people appreciate how critical that is to care for themselves. Really, the other thing too is having a plan, as you go into the coming weeks, potentially months, how can you go ahead and plan out some assistance? Maybe again, it's someone who can safely provide those caregiving responsibilities on your behalf, whether it's, a family member or someone else who is trusted. And, even though COVID is here, under the right safety precautions, it doesn't mean that a caregiver now is locked indefinitely into 24/7 role. They also need to take care of themselves. So, for us, it's about making sure that you have that plan. Certainly know what resources are available to you. I'm very proud, Gary, of the resiliency of the Aging Network. Many of our services are still available. So if somebody needs legal assistance or transportation or certainly a meal, in most local communities, we have found ways to very safely deliver those services.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to talk with you. Be well and be safe.
Thank you, sir. The pleasure's mine, and thanks to everybody that uses you as a resource. You are awesome. Thank you, Gary.
Thanks.
Every doctor's meeting that we go to, we take a little tape recorder with us, and we just tape record it from start to finish, go home and listen to it, and it's unbelievable how much we miss, even trying to take notes.
One of the main challenges we caregivers face during COVID-19 is how to keep our loved ones living safely in the community. Technology offers valuable solutions to this challenge, and one of the industry leaders helping us create this transparent bubble of care around our loved ones is Rich Cohen of Forma Safe Home. Rich, you talk about invisible companion, and I really love that phrase. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, an invisible companion is a term that we coined recognizing the fact that the senior wants to maintain their dignity, wants to have their independence, and equally importantly, they want to maintain privacy. They don't want cameras staring at what they're doing, their every move. So what we did is we took a holistic view of a home environment, did a search of technologies from all over the world, and came up with currently 3 technologies that we integrate within an app. And the technology is really amazing, and it's getting better every day. But what we have right now is several devices, one of which is what we call the Rosie Fall Detector. Rosie is the name of our app that we have. But the Rosie Fall Detector does a 4D scan of a room and will detect falls from a 4D scan. There are no cameras, there's no wearable, it's just something that's on the wall, that's plugged in, they don't even know it's there. If they fall, the device will detect the fall through this 4D scan of radio waves. It will then ask the individual who is on the floor if they can get up. If they cannot, or if there is no response, there's an immediate call that is made to the loved ones, the caregiver, to be able to communicate directly with the individual who's lying on the floor in real time. If that individual is not available, it could call up to 5 people. Another issue that we've addressed is the concern that seniors become forgetful. They may turn on their stove, walk away, forget that it's on. Fires become a real problem. So what we've done is we found a stove monitor, the Rosie stove monitor, that will detect movement in front of a stove. If there is no movement in front of a stove that is on within a designated period of time, it will shut off the stove to avoid the possibility of a fire and a very serious situation. The other benefit of that is it will detect the first movement of the day in the kitchen. So if you keep your medicine in the kitchen, and by 11 o'clock in the morning, you're not in the kitchen, your loved one knows that the senior, the caregiver knows that the senior has not been in the kitchen to take their medicine and can call up and say, "Ma, how come you haven't taken your medicine yet?" Tremendous visibility. And then another technology that we implement is actually a camera, but it's an outside camera. It's a Rosie doorbell camera. And the reason we have that is a lot of people want to know who's coming and going into the home of the senior. It also helps with people who are wanderers, so you know if they've left the home or not. We just recently had someone who lives in the Midwest who had a heart attack several months ago, and now wants to, as part of their rehabilitation, wants to get on a treadmill. So we've installed one of the Rosie fall detectors.
If they live with you, or if they have to move in with you, this is still a system you can actually have in your own home, because at some point you won't be there all day.
Frequently, the falls will occur in the evening, the nighttime, in the bathroom. That's where the majority of the falls occur. And you may have your loved one living with you, but they may be living in another part of the home, and in the middle of the night they could fall down. You may not know that until the morning. My favorite group growing up was this group called Chicago. They had two songs that really sum up what Form a Safe Home is all about. It's only the beginning, and we're getting stronger every day. There's new technology that's becoming available every day, and we're constantly evaluating these technologies that are available in the marketplace. And as the technologies get to the level where we're comfortable with integrating them with the app, we'll roll them out as well.
Thank you, Rich, for sharing your time with us.
Barry, thanks for having me. This was great.
So the first list I want you to make is a list of the things that you could delegate. Someone to make a meal for you, someone to take someone to a doctor, someone to come and pick something up from the grocery store for you. The second list is have 4 or 5 people next to your phone with their phone numbers that you could call if you're having a bad day, if you can't sleep at night, if you're frustrated, just someone who's there for you that you could speak with.
And breathe in deep and blow it out. And that brings fresh oxygen to your heart, and it helps lower your blood pressure. Do that. Go to a support group. Find a way, even if it's just a 1 month. If you can't leave the house, do it in an online support group. There are so many. But support groups, exercise if you can get out. If you can't, walk around the dining room table 100 times. Move your body. Go for your checkups. You don't have to be the 40% that die.
Should he be on the road?
No, I don't think so, and I don't drive with him. But his 93rd birthday.
Can you tell me where he lives?
On plan B, no, you need plan C and D. Because I've been there.
What turned it around for you?
Well, what turned around for me is my mother was living in Miami. I was also concerned about her because I'm the eldest son. When I went to rescue my mom in Miami, she ended up rescuing me also.